Get some more now from Erol Kalkan, who joins us from California in the United States. He is a construction engineer. Erol, thank you very much indeed for your time. We've heard from President Erdogan, who says he would like the destroyed region to be rebuilt within a year. Clearly, when you look at how vast the scale and scope of the destruction is, how challenging will that project be?
Well, it's going to be definitely very challenging. As you can see, the region hit by multiple earthquakes back to back, right? And then there were about 10 cities, and plus the Syria, a lot of buildings, the collapse. Especially for Turkey, the rebuilding of the construction is going to be a huge overtaking, and most likely they're going to start, moving the cities to a better, sites where the soil conditions are much stiffer instead of having the soft soil, and where we see a lot of damage, especially in the city of Hatay. So yeah, it's going to be a big overtaking.
Is there an argument for some of these towns and cities that have been almost totally destroyed to relocate them to other areas perhaps which aren't lying quite so close to those tectonic plates?
Yes, as you know, that Turkey is one of the regions where you see a lot of earthquakes happen. So there is no place in Turkey that you don't see the active the tectonic faults, right? So it will be a challenge to move to find a place where you don't have any active seismicity. But the problem, the major problem is the soil conditions, right? In the city of Hatay, where we have a deep basin, the alluvium, the soil, which actually amplify the ground shaking, that create a lot of damage. That's what we've seen compared to other cities, how the concentration of the collapsed buildings way more higher, right? So it will be much a wise decision to move away from those deep sediments, deep basins. So we do have similar conditions in California as well, right? In Los Angeles, San Bernardino, San Fernandino Valley. So a lot of a deep basin structure in LA. So those deep basins basically significantly amplify ground shaking. So that's what we see, a lot of damage, especially between 5-story to the 20-story structures. Those are the ones affected.
And when it comes to the buildings, we know that the Turkish government has a guarantee to rebuild those buildings, those structures, to a certain standard, presumably to make them better able to withstand earthquakes and aftershocks. How much complexity will that add to the project?
Turkey has a lot of experience with that, especially after the 1999 earthquakes, right? So there were a lot of the rebuilding the cities on a better, the firm soils. They also use different types of construction techniques, they call it a tunnel form buildings, where instead of beam and column, you have a lot of shear walls in the building that can resist the earthquake forces much better than those a classical a building system. So my assumption is that they're gonna probably follow the same the practice where the new building's gonna have much more intense shear walls, and they're gonna build with the modern the building code. A lot of structures the collapse is actually designed for the previous the older building codes, right? And then those are old structures. They already deteriorated. Deterioration happened. The other problem with these earthquakes is that it's not only one earthquake, right? Within 24 hours of time frame, we actually got the 5 big earthquakes, even the small earthquakes close to the Northridge, right? We have 2 magnitude 6.
Erol, you mentioned time frame, and it's an appropriate phrase because we are out of time, I'm afraid. We will have to leave it there, but we do appreciate you coming on the program and giving us your thoughts.